Hello everyone. Are you ready to hear a story that will inspire you to dream big and stand tall? Today, we dive into the incredible journey of Malala Yousafzai, a girl who proved that one voice can change the world. Her story is about bravery, determination, and the power of education. It's a story that will leave you motivated to make a difference in your own way. So, sit back, get ready to be inspired, and let's begin the story of Malala.
Once upon a time, in a small town called Mingora, nestled in the beautiful Swat Valley of Pakistan, a little girl named Malala Yousafzai was born. It was July 12, 1997, a warm and sunny day. The valley where Malala lived was surrounded by tall mountains, with rivers flowing gently through the land. It was a peaceful and magical place, full of natural beauty. Malala's home was filled with love and kindness. Her family wasn't rich, but they were happy because they had each other. Malala's father, Ziauddin, was a teacher, and he believed that education was the most powerful gift anyone could have. He was a kind and wise man who loved books and learning. Ziauddin wanted every child to go to school, especially girls. In their town, not all families believed that girls should study, but Ziauddin was different. He dreamed of a world where girls could be as strong and educated as boys. He looked at his little daughter, Malala, and saw her bright eyes full of curiosity and potential. He wanted her to grow up brave and strong. From the moment she was old enough to hold a pencil, Malala loved school. She loved the smell of new books, the feel of chalk on the blackboard, and the excitement of learning something new every day. She was a quick learner and always eager to answer questions in class. Her teachers admired her, and her classmates liked her because she was kind and helpful. Malala's favorite subjects were science and math, but she also loved stories. She would sit with her father and listen to him tell tales of bravery, hope, and the importance of standing up for what is right. Malala wasn't just smart, she was also brave. Her father encouraged her to speak her mind, no matter what. Never be afraid to stand up for what you believe in, he would say. Malala took his words to heart. She dreamed of becoming a doctor one day, so she could help people and make the world a better place. Every day, she imagined herself wearing a white coat, holding a stethoscope, and caring for the sick. But even though Malala loved school and had big dreams, she noticed something that made her sad. In her town, not all girls were allowed to go to school. Some families thought that education was only for boys. Malala couldn't understand why. "Why can't girls study like boys?" she asked her father one day. Ziauddin smiled and said, "You're right, Malala. Every girl has the right to learn, and one day you will show the world how important education is." Malala's peaceful childhood was filled with happy days of learning, playing with her brothers, and dreaming about her future. She felt safe in her beautiful valley, surrounded by mountains and the love of her family. She didn't know that her life would soon change in ways she could never imagine. But for now, Malala was just a young girl with a big heart, a curious mind, and a dream to make the world a better place. Life in Malala's beautiful valley began to change when she was just 10 years old. One day, news spread through her town that a group had come. At first, people didn't know what to expect, but soon, it became clear that the group wanted to control everything. They told people how to live, what to wear, and even what to think. The peaceful days in Mingora turned into days of fear and uncertainty. The group didn't believe in education for girls. They said that girls should stay at home and not go to school. "A girl's place is in the house," they declared. They didn't want girls to learn or dream of a better future. To make people afraid, the group began destroying schools. Buildings that once echoed with children's laughter were left in ruins. Many families became scared and stopped sending their daughters to school. Malala couldn't believe what was happening. School was her favorite place. It was where she learned about the world, shared laughs with her friends, and worked toward her dream of becoming a doctor. How could anyone think that girls didn't deserve to learn? Malala's heart broke as she watched other girls stay home out of fear. She missed seeing their faces in class. She missed the joy of learning together. But more than anything, she felt angry. "This isn't right," she thought. "Every child has the right to go to school, whether they are a boy or a girl." Malala's father, Ziauddin, also believed in education for everyone. He continued to teach and speak out about the importance of schools, even though it was dangerous. Malala, he told her, we must stand up for what we believe in. Education is a gift that no one should take away. Inspired by her father's courage, Malala decided she wouldn't give up on her education. Every morning, she walked to school, even though she knew it was risky. She carried her books close to her chest, her heart beating fast with both fear and determination. She was scared, but she knew she was doing the right thing. The group tried to silence the voices of girls like Malala, but she refused to stay quiet. She spoke to her friends and encouraged them not to lose hope. Education is our right, she said. We can't let anyone take it away from us. As the days passed, Malala began to dream of something bigger. She wanted the whole world to know what was happening in her valley. She wanted people to understand how important it was for girls to go to school. If we don't speak up, who will? She thought. The once peaceful valley was now a place of fear, but Malala's spirit stayed strong. She knew that learning was the key to a brighter future, not just for her, but for every girl in the world. And even though the darkness had come to her town, Malala believed that light could shine again if they didn't give up. Her journey was becoming more difficult, but Malala was ready to fight for her dream. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she also knew that it was worth it. For Malala, education wasn't just about books and classrooms. It was about hope, freedom, and the power to change the world. Malala couldn't stay silent. The more the group tried to take away her right to learn, the more determined she became to speak out. She wanted the world to know what was happening in her valley, especially to the girls who loved school just like she did. One day, an opportunity came her way. The BBC, a famous news organization, wanted someone to write about life under the group. They wanted to show the world what it was like for girls who were being stopped from going to school. Malala was just 11 years old, but she was ready to share her story. To stay safe, she wrote under a fake name, Gul Mackay. In her blog, Malala wrote about the fear she felt when walking to school. She described how the group had destroyed classrooms and scared families into keeping their daughters at home. Why can't girls learn like boys? She wrote. Why are we being punished for wanting an education? Her words were simple but powerful. They painted a clear picture of what life was like in Mingora. Malala didn't just write about the struggles. She also wrote about her dreams. She talked about how much she loved school and how she believed that education could change lives. People from around the world began reading her blog. They were moved by her courage and her passion for learning. Malala's voice, even though it came from a small town, was reaching faraway places. Her words inspired many people to think about the importance of education, especially for girls. As time went on, Malala's identity was revealed. People found out that the brave girl behind the blog was Malala Yousafzai. She became well known, not just in her town, but all over Pakistan and beyond. Many admired her bravery, but not everyone was happy. The group, who didn't want anyone speaking against them, became angry. Malala knew the danger she was facing, but she didn't let fear stop her. She began to speak at events and on television. She told her story with honesty and strength. I speak not just for myself, she said, but for all the girls who want to go to school. Her father, Ziauddin, stood by her side. He was proud of Malala for standing up for what she believed in. You are my daughter, he told her, and you are a voice for those who cannot speak. Even though Malala was just a young girl, her words carried great power. She wasn't just fighting for her own education. She was fighting for every girl who had ever been told she wasn't good enough or strong enough to learn. The risks were growing, but Malala didn't back down. She believed that education was worth fighting for, no matter how hard the journey became. She knew that the pen was mightier than the sword, and her words could bring change to the world. Malala's voice was no longer just her own. It had become the voice of countless girls who dreamed of a brighter future. She was proving that even one person, no matter how young, could make a difference. And so Malala kept writing, kept speaking, and kept dreaming. Her fight for education was far from over, but she had taken a bold step forward. Malala's fight for education was inspiring, but it also made her a target. The group, angry at her courage and her words, decided to silence her. They didn't want anyone, especially a young girl, standing up against them. On October 9, 2012, Malala's life changed forever. She was just 15 years old. That morning started like any other. Malala got ready for school, excited to spend the day learning and laughing with her friends. She boarded the small school bus that carried her and her classmates through the streets of Mingora. The bus ride was filled with chatter and laughter. Malala and her friends talked about their lessons, their dreams, and the small joys of everyday life. But suddenly the bus stopped. A man with a gun climbed aboard. The bus became silent. Everyone froze, their hearts pounding with fear. The man's voice was cold and harsh. "Who is Malala?" he demanded. No one spoke. The girls looked at each other, terrified. Malala, brave as always, didn't hide. She looked up. Before anyone could react, the man pointed the gun at her and pulled the trigger. The sound of the gunshot echoed through the bus. Malala fell to the ground, blood pouring from her head. Her friends screamed in horror, their cries filling the air. The man ran away, leaving chaos behind. The bus driver, realizing the urgency of the situation, sped to the nearest hospital. Malala was barely conscious, her small body fighting for life. Her friends sat beside her, crying and praying for her survival. At the hospital, doctors worked quickly to save Malala. The injury was severe, and they weren't sure if she would make it. News of the attack spread quickly. People in her town, her country, and around the world were shocked. How could anyone hurt a young girl for wanting to go to school? Malala's parents were heartbroken. Her mother cried endlessly, and her father blamed himself. "Why did this happen to my daughter?" he asked. But deep inside, he knew that Malala had been attacked because she was brave enough to stand up for what was right. The doctors in Mingora did everything they could, but they knew Malala needed better care. She was flown to a hospital in England for advanced treatment. The journey was long, and Malala remained unconscious. Her family traveled with her, their hearts heavy with worry. For days, the world waited to hear news about Malala. Would she survive? People from all over prayed for her recovery. They sent messages of love and support. Leaders, celebrities, and ordinary people spoke out, calling Malala a hero. Slowly, Malala's condition began to improve. She woke up in the hospital, confused and in pain, but alive. The doctors told her how lucky she was to survive. The bullet had missed her brain by a fraction. Malala's strength and determination had pulled her through. Even as she lay in the hospital bed, recovering from the attack, Malala's spirit remained unbroken. She thought about the girls back home who still couldn't go to school. She knew that her fight wasn't over. If anything, the attack made her even more determined to stand up for education. Malala's story spread around the globe. People admired her courage and resilience. She had faced unimaginable danger, but she refused to give up. The group had tried to silence her, but instead, they made her voice louder than ever. As she recovered, Malala realized that her journey was far from over. The attack had changed her life, but it hadn't changed her mission. She still believed that every girl deserved the right to learn. And she was more determined than ever to make that dream a reality. After the attack, Malala's life changed forever. She was taken to a hospital in Birmingham, England, far from her home in Pakistan. The journey was long, and Malala was unconscious the entire time. The doctors in England were ready to do everything they could to save her life. When Malala arrived at the hospital, the doctors immediately began treating her. The bullet had damaged her head and neck, and she needed several surgeries. The first surgery was to remove the bullet and clean the wound. Later, she had another surgery to fix the bones in her face and repair her hearing. It was a slow and painful process. For weeks, Malala was very weak. She couldn't move much, and she couldn't speak. The hospital room was quiet, but Malala's heart was strong. Even though she couldn't talk, her thoughts were loud. She kept thinking about the girls back in Pakistan who still couldn't go to school. She thought about her dream of education for every girl. This dream gave her strength. Her family was always by her side. Her father, Ziauddin, held her hand and told her stories to keep her spirits up. He reminded her of how brave she was. Her mother, Tor Pekai, prayed for her day and night, whispering words of love and encouragement. Malala's younger brothers, Atal and Kushal, visited her too. They brought her little drawings and gifts to make her smile. The people in Birmingham were kind and welcoming. The nurses took special care of Malala, treating her like their own daughter. They brought her books and soft toys to keep her comfortable. Malala was far from home, but the kindness of strangers made her feel less alone. As Malala's body healed, her spirit grew even stronger. Slowly, she began to speak again. Her voice was soft at first, but with practice, it became louder and clearer. The doctors and nurses were amazed by her determination. They could see that she was not just a patient, she was a fighter. Word about Malala's bravery spread around the world. People from different countries sent her letters, cards, and gifts. Children wrote to her, saying how much they admired her courage. Leaders and celebrities praised her for standing up for education. Malala's hospital room was filled with flowers and messages of hope. One day, Malala was well enough to sit up and read some of the letters herself. She was touched by the love and support from so many people. It made her realize that her story was inspiring others. She thought, if so many people believe in me, I cannot give up. I must keep fighting for education. Her recovery was long and difficult. There were days when Malala felt tired and frustrated. She missed her home, her friends, and her school. But she reminded herself why she was fighting. She knew that her life had a purpose. She had survived for a reason, to continue her mission to help girls around the world. As Malala grew stronger, she began to speak to visitors who came to see her. She told them about the girls in Pakistan who were denied an education. She shared her story, not to gain sympathy, but to inspire change. She wanted people to understand that education was a basic right for everyone, no matter where they lived. Malala's courage touched the hearts of millions. People from all over the world stood with her, supporting her cause. They believed in her dream and wanted to help her make it come true. Malala's recovery was not just about healing her body. It was about finding her voice and using it to make the world a better place. Though the road was long and filled with challenges, Malala never gave up. Her determination and bravery reminded everyone that one girl, with a strong heart and a powerful dream, could change the world. When Malala recovered, she didn't go back to living a quiet life. Instead, she became louder than ever. She knew her survival was a miracle, and she believed it happened for a reason. Malala wanted to use her voice to fight for every girl who couldn't go to school. She stood in front of world leaders, young people, and cameras from every country. She wore a pink shawl that once belonged to Benazir Bhutto, Pakistan's first female prime minister. Malala spoke with courage and determination. She said, "One child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world." Her words inspired everyone in the room. People were amazed at how brave she was. Even after everything she had been through, Malala wasn't afraid. She spoke about the girls in her hometown who couldn't go to school. She talked about how education could change lives and how the world needed to take action. Her voice was strong, and her message was clear. Every girl deserved a chance to learn. Malala didn't just speak at big events. She met with world leaders, presidents, and prime ministers. She told them about the struggles girls faced in countries like Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Nigeria. She explained how important it was to build schools and make education a priority. Some leaders listened carefully, and they promised to help. Others didn't take her seriously. But Malala didn't let that stop her. She kept speaking, knowing that her words could make a difference. Malala's story spread around the world. She became a symbol of hope and strength for millions of girls. They looked up to her and felt inspired to stand up for their rights. Parents started encouraging their daughters to go to school. Teachers began telling their students about Malala's bravery. Her message was reaching places she had never even visited. In 2014, something incredible happened. Malala was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. She was just 17 years old, making her the youngest person ever to win the prize. The Nobel Committee chose Malala because of her courage and her fight for girls' education. When she heard the news, Malala was surprised and grateful. She didn't see herself as a hero. She was just a girl who wanted to go to school. Malala accepted the Nobel Peace Prize with humility and grace. She shared the award with Kailash Satyarthi, an activist from India who fought against child labor. Malala said the prize wasn't just for her. It was for every child who dreamed of going to school. She dedicated the prize money to building schools in places where education was needed the most. After winning the Nobel Peace Prize, Malala's mission grew even bigger. She started the Malala Fund, an organization that works to make education accessible to girls all over the world. The Malala Fund builds schools, trains teachers, and supports families so that more girls can go to school. Malala traveled to many countries to see the work herself. She met girls who had to fight for their education, just like she did. She listened to their stories and reminded them that they were not alone. Malala's life was busy, but she never forgot her own education. Even while she was traveling and speaking, she continued her studies. She believed that learning was a lifelong journey. Malala eventually went to the University of Oxford, where she studied politics, philosophy, and economics. She wanted to gain more knowledge so she could keep helping others. Through her work, Malala showed the world that one person could make a difference. Malala's dream of seeing every girl in school was starting to come true. More girls were getting an education, and more people were supporting the cause. As Malala's journey continued, she reminded everyone that bravery wasn't about being fearless. It was about standing up for what was right, even when you were afraid. Her voice became a beacon of hope for girls everywhere, lighting the way to a brighter future. Malala's journey was full of challenges, but she never let them stop her. Even after being attacked, even after facing fear and pain, Malala remained determined. She believed in the power of education and the right of every child to learn. For Malala, giving up was never an option. There were times when the road was tough. Some people doubted her. Others said she was too young to make a difference. But Malala didn't listen to the negativity. Instead, she focused on her mission. She thought about all the girls who couldn't go to school, and that gave her strength. She wanted to be their voice. Malala continued traveling the world, sharing her story and fighting for education. She spoke to governments, schools, and organizations. She met young girls who had been forced to drop out of school, and she encouraged them to dream big. Malala told them that education was the key to a better future. She wanted them to believe in themselves, just as she had believed in herself. Her story touched the hearts of millions. People admired her courage and determination. They saw how one young girl could stand up to something as powerful as the group. Malala became a symbol of hope, not just for girls in Pakistan, but for children everywhere. She showed the world that bravery wasn't about being fearless. It was about standing up for what was right, even when it was hard. Malala also taught people about equality. She reminded the world that girls and boys deserve the same opportunities. In many countries, girls were still being left behind. They were denied the chance to go to school simply because they were girls. Malala said this was unfair, and she worked to change it. Through her speeches, books, and the Malala Fund, she made a real difference. More schools were built, more teachers were trained, and more girls were given the chance to learn. Malala's dream of a world where every child could go to school was starting to come true. But Malala knew there was still more work to do. Millions of children were still out of school. Some were too poor to afford it, while others lived in places where it wasn't safe. Malala promised to keep fighting until every child had the chance to learn. Her message was simple but powerful. Education is a right, not a privilege. She believed that learning could change lives, families, and entire communities. With education, children could grow up to be doctors, teachers, scientists, or leaders. They could help make the world a better place. Malala's journey wasn't just about her own life. It was about the lives of millions of others. She proved that one person, no matter how young or small, could make a big difference. Her story showed the world that dreams could come true if you worked hard and never gave up. As Malala continued her work, she remained humble. She didn't see herself as a hero. She often said, "I'm just a girl who wanted to go to school." But to the world, Malala was much more than that. She was a fighter, a leader, and a voice for those who couldn't speak. Malala's journey reminded everyone that the fight for education wasn't over. There were still challenges to face, but she showed that with courage, hope, and determination, anything was possible. Her story became a light for others, guiding them toward a brighter future. Malala's message was clear. Never give up on your dreams, no matter how hard life gets. Believe in yourself, stand up for what's right, and always keep going. With her words and her actions, Malala showed the world that change starts with just one person. And that person could be anyone. even a young girl from a small town in Pakistan. Today, Malala Yousafzai is known all over the world. She is not just a survivor, but a leader and a fighter for education. Malala's mission is far from over. Every day, she works to make her dream come true, a world where every girl has the chance to go to school. Malala travels to many countries, meeting with leaders, teachers, and students. She speaks at big events and important meetings, always sharing her message about the power of education. She tells people that when girls go to school, they can change the world. Malala's words are full of hope and strength, inspiring millions of people to take action. To help even more girls, Malala started an organization called the Malala Fund. The Malala Fund works to make sure that girls in poor countries can go to school. Malala knows that change doesn't happen overnight. In many parts of the world, girls still face big challenges. Some families are too poor to send their daughters to school. In other places, there are no schools at all. Some girls are even told that they shouldn't learn because they are girls. These problems are hard to solve, but Malala refuses to give up. She believes that every small step brings us closer to a brighter future. Even though Malala has already achieved so much, she remains humble. She often says that she is just a girl who wanted to go to school. But to the world, Malala is a symbol of courage and hope. Her story proves that even one voice can make a big difference. Malala's dream is not just about education, it is about equality. She believes that every child, no matter their gender or where they come from, deserves the same opportunities. She often says, "One child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world." Her message is simple but powerful. Education is the key to a better future. Through her work, Malala has touched the lives of millions of people. Girls who once thought they would never go to school are now sitting in classrooms, learning and dreaming. Families who didn't understand the value of education are now supporting their daughters' studies. Communities that once ignored girls' rights are now standing up for them. Malala's journey shows that change is possible. It reminds us that even the biggest challenges can be overcome if we work together. Her story is a beacon of hope, lighting the way for others to follow. But Malala doesn't just think about today, she also thinks about the future. She dreams of a world where every child has access to education. She imagines a time when no girl is left behind, and every boy and girl have the chance to achieve their dreams. Malala believes that education can solve many of the world's problems, from poverty to inequality. Malala's story is not just her own, it is the story of every girl who dares to dream. It is the story of every child who wants to learn and every family who hopes for a better life. Her journey reminds us that we all have the power to make a difference, no matter how small we feel. As Malala continues her work, she remains an inspiration to people everywhere. She shows us that standing up for what is right is always worth it. She teaches us that bravery is not about being fearless, but about doing what is right, even when it is hard. Malala's bright future is not just her own, it belongs to all of us. She is a shining example of what one person can achieve when they believe in their dreams and work hard to make them come true. Her message is clear. No matter who you are or where you come from, you can make the world a better place. Malala's story is far from over. She is still fighting, still dreaming, and still inspiring.